Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Today we are heading to one of my favorite lakes in Pennsylvania. We're going to go up and do some grass fishing today. As you can tell by the title, we're going to teach you how to fish grass lines. Typically late summer, we're first week of September here. So these fish get loaded up on the edges of these grass lines late in the summer. And they will pretty much gang up in these big schools. And if you find one, you can pretty much tear them up. So today we're going to show you a little bit about how to fish these grass lines. There will be another video coming on actually how to find these specifically. I'm going to show you multiple different ways from not having a fish finder at all the way to having the highest tech fish finders that you can get. All the different ways you can find and mark grass lines and be successful doing this. So if you don't want to miss that video, hit that subscribe button down below. I also put new fishing videos out every Monday and Thursday. So if you don't want to miss any of that, hit that subscribe button down below. But today, let's head up to this lake here. We're going to teach you how to fish them today. How can you catch these fish out there? There's multiple options and ways to do it. I have a general idea of how we're going to do it today, looking at the weather, and I'll explain all of it later in today's video. So you're going to want to stay tuned to the end of the video. I'm going to offer a ton of tips on actually how to do this. But based on the weather, you'll choose different baits and techniques to catch these fish on these grass lines. And when you find them, it is lights out. You catch a ton of fish. You can catch some big bags. If you fish on a grass lake, typically, one thing I have noticed about fishing on a grass lake, if you fish the docks or shallow cover on the grass lake, you'll catch skinnier fish that live up there in the summertime. But if you fish on the actual outside edge of the grass line, which we're going to show you today, you'll catch a lot bigger fish. They'll weigh more, and that's what you're looking for, especially in tournaments. Let's get up to the lake here and hopefully we can catch us a couple fish. All right guys, so we made it to our first grass line here. Like I said, I will have a video coming up shortly on how to actually find these, so don't worry about not knowing how to do it yet. It's coming. It'll be out in a couple days probably, so it'll be right behind this one. The first thing you're going to notice about today is it's glass calm out here. Besides pleasure boat traffic, there is absolutely no wind. So there's multiple ways that you can catch fish on grass lines. You just got to pay attention to your conditions. So the first thing I noticed is there's no wind today, bright sun skies. That's going to be a big factor in what baits that I choose today. I'll go over some of the baits later in today's video, but for now I have a wacky rigged Senko, a Texas rigged Senko, and a drop shot. That is all I have rigged up right now to fish these grass lines. That's what we're starting with. If the wind starts blowing or the boat traffic really picks up, there are some other options we can use, and we'll talk about that later. But for right now, finesse baits are going to be the way to go, especially summertime fishing like this. Fishing's tough to begin with already, and then you add in no wind or anything like that to get those fish eating, and it's going to get really, really tough. So we're starting with finesse baits, and we're going to see where that gets us to start, and we'll catch up with you hopefully once we start catching some fish here. So when I'm fishing a grass line like this, I typically take a three-step approach to fishing these. There's typically three groups of fish that will run these grass lines, either all at once on the same grass line, or depending on the day, you'll have to feel out which one is happening that day, what pattern is going on. Essentially, there will be fish that run on the very outside edge of the grass line on the bottom. They'll stay outside the grass or just inside it, very, very edge, and feed on bait fish coming by on the bottom. Then you'll have fish that get into where the grass grows up to the surface. The very edge of that, you'll have fish that are there, and they'll be suspended or on the bottom in that. And then finally, you'll have fish that get all the way up in the grass, inside that vertical grass line that comes to the surface of the water. And those fish can be suspended or on the bottom. Whenever I start fishing a grass line, I always start on the very outside edge. So as you can see right here, I'm in 20 foot of water right there, and there's no grass on the screen. But just over there is the grass line. So I'll start on the very edge of it, where I'm not even over top of the grass, so I don't scare those fish that run the edge. On a calm day, I'll throw a drop shot and fish it on the outside edge there, or on a windy day, you can throw a Carolina rig or a deep crankbait that will tick the tops of the grass, and that can be an effective way to get them when the wind is blowing. Then, if I don't catch any doing that, I'll slide up more in towards the grass, and I will start throwing a wacky rig if it's a very, very calm day right to the edge of the grass and letting it sink, and that way you can catch those suspended fish. Or on a windy day, you could throw a chatterbait down the edge, or a spinnerbait, or a jerkbait, something like that, and cover different levels of the water column right on the edge of the grass. And then finally I'll work my way all the way up to the edge. My boat will literally be sitting at the edge of the grass. I can see the grass line growing all the way to the surface, and I will either on a calm day flip a Texas rigged Senko into the holes in the grass, or on a windy day I'll flip a 3/4 or a 1 ounce tungsten weight, whatever I need to get down there and through the grass. I will flip that into the holes in the grass or into the big clumps and try and get fish that way. So that's typically my approach to fishing these grass lines. I just kind of work my way up on the grass line. There we go, we're on. Wow, he is small, but it's a fish. Caught one finally. So this is the second grass line I've been to today. We're gonna get him off. Little guy, we'll throw him back and try and get a bigger one. This is the second grass line I've been to today. The first one was not working out, so we made a little move over to this one here. And we fished about 50 yards down it and just caught that guy. He was small though, but we'll see if we can get a bigger one. The one thing with fishing grass lines, typically, I already fished this grass line before, so I didn't do it. But if you set the hook on a fish, the first thing I do is go down and drop a waypoint on my graph. So when you're fishing down these grass lines, there are areas that will be different than others. So a lot of this is just straight grass line. And to figure it out, you either have to graph it in the springtime when there's no grass on it, or you just have to fish it and hope you can run into them. And that's why you fish a lot of grass and you might not catch anything. Then all of a sudden you run into them and catch 15 pounds. It's because there's irregularities under the water, whether it's a point in the grass, which is something you can find on your graph, or something along the lines of like a rock pile down there, or a hole in the grass, or anything different than what you're typically fishing than just like the straight grass edge. That'll hold a bunch of fish. So typically when you catch one, there's more with it. So I'll reach down and drop a waypoint as fast as I can, and that way I know where I caught that fish, the general area, and I can soak my baits in there a lot longer and try and get more bites. So another thing that's happening right now that's cluing me in that this could be a good grass line, besides catching that last fish, is that every cast I'm throwing out here with my drop shot, I'm feeling bait fish, whether they're perch, bluegills, whatever they are down there, pecking at my worm and pulling on it. That means there's bait in the area. So if the fish have the cover of grass and they have bait that they can eat right there, most likely out of all the grass that's on the lake, if the bait is ganged up in front of this grass, there's a good chance that there'll be fish on this grass instead of other grass. There we go. That's a good one. He's got me stuck down in the grass. Here he comes. That's a real nice one. Oh, he's not that big. Decent though. Let's see if we can grab him. Barely hooked, but we got him. That was a nice one right on this point here. The grass line comes out and he was laying right on the edge there. I felt him bite it and then drop it, and he came back and got it again. So that's what you can catch fishing out on these grass lines here. Like I said, I would have dropped a waypoint there and then I'd go back and cast in again. So we're gonna put on another worm and throw right back in there and see if we can get another one. Let's let him go. There he goes. There's another one. Oh my gosh, is he small. He was born yesterday. Easy, buddy. That might be one of the smallest bass I've ever caught. We're gonna go ahead and let him go. That was on a 6-inch robo worm. That's unbelievable. But that was in the same spot that I just caught that last one. Not saying that that's anything to be proud of there, but it shows that there's fish, they live in the same area. There's another one. I can't tell how big he is. He's little. They are loaded up on this spot. Come here, buddy. That is another one off that same little point in the grass right there. We're gonna go throw him back as well. But that's what I mean. I've been fishing grass lines all day today. I've gone through plenty of them. I can't even explain how much water I've covered today. But then all of a sudden when you hit them, you'll know, and you'll catch a bunch of them, and they're ganged up. So you can't get discouraged doing this type of fishing, because the next grass line could be the one that has 20 pounds on it. So you just have to keep fishing them, keep covering water. The problem is you have to do it so slow. But when you find them, you typically find them pretty good. So we are back in the truck. Before we finish today's video off, I wanted to give you the #1 tip that I have for fishing grass lines. I proved it today. You need very consistent weather for this pattern to hold up. If you have a cold front, like a heavy cold front, it can really affect these fish, as it does anytime. But when you get a flood of fish going to these outside grass lines is during the heat of the summer. The hotter it gets, the better, as long as you have consistent weather. We had the hurricane come through earlier this week. It dropped the water temperature 8 degrees from last weekend, and I think those fish just kind of scattered out. Some of them think fall's coming already and probably went shallow. Other ones probably just kind of shut down and were sitting there. It just made it really, really tough, and the pleasure boat traffic was unbearable to keep fishing out there. They kept running over the grass lines and stuff like that. So hopefully, even though we only caught a couple fish, these tips helped you learn a little bit about how to fish these grass lines. Like I said, the video on how to find them will be coming up shortly. So hit that subscribe button if you don't want to miss that. And if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like down below, and thanks for watching.